Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast, and today it is a 1 vs 1 on Angoville. And our players, we have the red OKW player, JaPeSch. I believe I'm saying that right. And our blue Russian player, KackTheTripper. And again, this is Angoville, a rather strange map. 2 victory points on the right side, very close to each other, with the fuel point and the munitions on the right. The munitions point are on the far right and left sides, whereas the fuel point here is on the right and the left sides. And the last victory point is on the left side here. So a bit awkward, as the majority of resources are technically on the right side here, at least to win the game. Stern Pioneers moving out to the right side, and Volksgrenadiers for the OKW all moving out to the right side here. And it looks like the Russian player mostly moving to the left side, with these combat engineers moving up to the territory point, and conscripts moving out as well. So 2 conscripts out for the Russians, and we have the Stern Pioneers and Volksgrenadiers out for the OKW. It looks like a Kuba wagon also moving out, and we'll see if he's moving out his Schwere Wehrmacht Schlepper. Nope, just cruising around the base with it, which I would too, because the Schwere Wehrmacht Schlepper, I love you. Look how awesome that thing is. Wouldn't you just want to baja around in that thing? I sure would. Although I wouldn't want to pay the gas bill. I'm sure it's very, very expensive. Very inefficient. Conscripts right here at the fuel point, moving up quick to that, and wanted to take that very quickly. Standard territory point being taken by the conscripts as well. Additional conscripts out. Now 3 conscripts out for the Russians. The Kuba wagon moving out and going to get set up in a position to stop any troops moving up here. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that there are no troops on the right side, so he can take this entire right side as soon as possible. Which he will have an advantage if he does that, at least in the terms of victory points, although there are quite a bit of capture points on the left side too. Just simply more victory points on the right side, which can essentially win you the game. Volksgrenadiers also coming out for the OKW, so 2 of those, and an additional conscript, so 4 conscripts, so basically just massing up some conscripts here for the Russian player. So it should be easy to deal with those conscripts, should he get some MG34s, if he has that proper commander. Indeed, he does have that particular commander. Could get some MG34s, which would stop all that Russian advance. And now 2 conscripts are garrisoned up inside of these buildings here. It could turn this Kuba wagon around. Indeed, turns the Kuba wagon around, starts firing at this building here, but the Kuba wagon isn't going to do too much to these troops inside this building. It will take a long time to actually take them out. Conscripts now moving out. It looks like they're going to try to flank around here. So they're going to get some shots in the back of this Kuba wagon here and do some damage, where the armor is the weakest, although what armor really, but it is technically weaker in the back. Volksgrenadiers trying to chase off these conscripts here, a little tongue-tied. Stern Pioneers firing at them with their STGs, very, very good at short range, but they're at medium range right now. Kuba wagon is in trouble. All these conscripts moving up on the Kuba wagon, and Kuba wagon trying to suppress those troops, but they didn't get suppressed, and gonna get inside that building, may destroy this Kuba wagon on the way out, but I doubt they'll have enough firepower to actually take it out. Now Volksgrenadiers in a little bit of trouble, sandwiched both sides here, and lost his Stern Pioneers. He actually lost his Stern Pioneers somewhere, all of them dead, so that was a big loss. Stern Pioneers are very expensive to lose. Volksgrenadiers on the left side, looks like they took out some of the conscripts over here, or at least the engineers, as he does not have an engineer anymore, just the 5 conscripts. So 5 squads of conscripts for the Russian player. Has not yet picked any kind of commander yet, neither has the OKW. But we'll see what they pick in order to counter each other. And fuel is now taken by the Russians, as well as the first victory point. So they're moving out, spreading out his troops, starting to take out some territory here. And he has plenty of troops to be able to spread out and take territory. All the left side belonging to the Russian player, but starting to take back by these Volksgrenadiers here. But if any kind of troops come up here to contest these Volksgrenadiers, they will have to run, as there's just only 3 of them with about half health. So they're really just on borrowed time. These conscripts trying to take this territory point. Looks like he wanted to get inside this building, but he didn't take that in time, so he's got to walk back and grab that. Conscripts over here going to take the munitions point, so taking a lot of territory very, very quickly for this Russian player, because he has so many troops out. Now bringing an additional engineer out, so he'll have 6 total squads to be able to spread out across the map and take territory very, very quickly. Stern Pioneers and 2 Volksgrenadiers now moving out. When I play OKW, I like to get 2 Stern Pioneers. I like to make an additional Stern Pioneer right off the bat because Stern Pioneers are just so good at short range. If you can get them up close to troops, they just dominate troops really bad. Although they do have low health because they are engineers, so you can lose them to long-range troops. But if you can manage to maybe come around a corner where there's some troops and they don't really necessarily see you, it's really over for those troops. They will have to retreat, including conscripts. Even though you're outnumbered by 2 with Stern Pioneers and conscripts, if you get close to conscripts, you will just waste them. So I like to make additional Stern Pioneers. Sometimes for funsies, I like to make 3 Stern Pioneers at the start, 2 additional ones to have a total of 3. And then just run around with 3 groups of Stern Pioneers, and they just murder. It's super funny, but that's just me, and that's just for fun. Fuel point being taken by these Volksgrenadiers. So they're going to start taking some territory back, but the Russians have spread out all the way across the map. Look, taking all this left side now, all at once, because he has so many troops to spread out. And the reason why you typically don't go mass Stern Pioneers at the start is because they fall off very, very quickly. As soon as armor comes out on the field, they're just really pretty much useless. Except for light armor like scout cars, they actually tear up scout cars pretty quickly. And the reason why you get Volksgrenadiers is because they scale much better in terms of their veterancy and in terms of the combat package. They can have that Panzerschreck. But again, the Stern Pioneers are just for funsies, and conscript's going to be battling out with these Stern Pioneers, but they're a much longer range, so they'll be able to handle those Stern Pioneers inside that building. However, the Kuba wagon is now here, going to start suppressing these troops. But they're probably going to be able to get around it. Indeed, these conscripts not getting suppressed, going to run right behind this, and going to throw an anti-tank grenade at this Kuba wagon, dealing half of its health there at once, throwing a grenade on these conscripts here. And these conscripts are suppressed and ate that grenade hard. All 4 conscripts died, and an additional 1 to troops after that. Massive amount of conscripts moved behind this Kuba wagon. Even I didn't see that, and destroying that Kuba wagon. MG34, he did indeed go the MG34 route. Indeed, that's exactly what I wanted to see him do, is get that MG34, because there's so many troops out on the field. He needs these machine guns. But there's just too many for even a machine gun. So you'd have to produce machine gun after machine gun after machine gun. He does have the manpower to produce additional machine guns, which I would like to see. I would like to see 2 more made. At least 3 total machine guns out on the field would be probably enough to stop this massive amount of troops, as he has 5 conscript squads, 1 engineer, and now he has a Maxim out on the field as well. Volksgrenadiers taking some territory back, but they just can't take territory as fast as these conscripts can, because he has so many that he can spread out. Volksgrenadiers getting suppressed by this Maxim, gonna have to just run out of there. And though the MG34 is firing back at troops as well, almost killed that conscript squad off. That would have been pretty nice for him at this point, to be able to take out some of these troops and just sort of get them off the map. Score so far, 465 for the Russians, 442 for the OKW. So OKW slightly losing, but not a big deal to only be 20 down. MG34 is now set up in this 2-story building, which is a slightly better choice as it's higher. You get a little bit more vision out of that. And conscripts moving up forward now, and they do have those Molotovs, so he's going to try and get up to this and maybe throw a Molotov inside this house. Just going to force that MG34 out of there. He's going to have to crawl up there before he gets pinned. And now Stern Pioneers out here, but they're not going to be able to handle all this firepower, although Stern Pioneers are really awesome. Indeed, they are very weak to damage themselves. Almost got a Molotov on that, but didn't quite make it. And now conscripts and engineers burning away at this MG34. Should have got that MG34 out of there, as he's seen that those conscripts were that close. You know that they're going to be throwing a Molotov. Although they didn't, you should suspect that and get it out of there soon. Now, the conscripts have stolen that MG34. And it's somewhere in the window now. Covet thy MG34. That's the least strategic place for MG34 I have ever seen. Look, he's just covering. You got it, buddy. But anyway, did steal that MG34, so now that is on the side of the Russians. So big loss for the Germans here. Brought out a second MG34. Should bring out even more as soon as he gets the manpower to bring out another one. And that cooldown is up. Should just bring out another one, as there's so many troops on the field. He needs to start suppressing these troops. MG34 taking this. Not an MG34, but Volksgrenadier was trying to take this left side victory point, but not going to happen. There's just so many conscripts on the field. Everywhere he goes, he just meets double the amount of troops that he has, which essentially is very easy to counter traditionally. Losing that Volksgrenadier, he didn't see that Volksgrenadier, must not have been paying attention. Losing that, another big loss for the OKW. Now of his troops back here in base, getting suppressed as soon as he walks out. And I'd like to think that next time he plays a game and he sees many conscripts out on the field, that he's going to get this fortified Luftwaffe ground forces doctrine, that is, and start getting MG34s out a little bit faster next time, and instead of just one, multiple MG34s is what he needs. And his Schwere Wehrmachtschlepper is also not set up as well. He set it up inside the base, which I just can never agree with that when an OKW player does that, although it's very convenient to set it up in your base. It is much better to put, say, you could put it behind this building here, which would cover it from mortar fire from this way, and then when you go to retreat your troops, all they would do is have to retreat right here, although that is not much of a difference. It would save him a lot of time. He could be battling troops over here, and then just retreat, heal, and reinforce, and then go back into the battle. Now conscripts run away from this big OKW force moving out. However, there's a Maxim down here that's just going to stop him in his tracks. He's just going to have to move around that. However, the arc of fire is only down this way, although he probably doesn't see this arc of fire. He could be moving right down here and easily get past that MG. So the Russians owning the majority of the map, owning all 3 victory points and all of the munitions, all of the fuel as well, and virtually every spot on the map. So a huge resource advantage for the Russians at the moment. ZIS is now set up just in case the OKW brings out any kind of troops. He can also use this for barrage should he want to, although the barrage is extremely inefficient at 60 munitions. Which that's another thing I disagree with, is the cost of the munitions of the ZIS. I think it should be 50 or 40. Although it can be very useful and take out troops, I just don't think it's justified at 60 munitions. Although I've found myself using it many times, especially against MGs set up like this. You can bring the ZIS about right here and just barrage this, which is very good, but 60 munitions is just ouch. Every time you use 60 munitions, you just pretty much have to bite your knuckles and say ouch, because that is a big loss of munitions. And especially if it doesn't work, if you miss your target or they move just in time, it's very inefficient. Fallschirmjäger is now taking the right side victory point. OKW now moving over to the right side, which I definitely agree with, as there's nothing over here to contest it, but he can start bringing forces over here in mass, because he just has so many forces on the map. They're everywhere, basically, like little roaches all over the place. And these Fallschirmjägers almost taking this victory point, and they should be able to do that, as the MG set up in this building the wrong way, and has to actually set up again. Now he's trying to get up to this building here, maybe trying to throw a grenade inside this building. The bundle grenade works very well again in buildings. It makes a big boom. And he threw it right on the side there, and it looks like he took out 1 troop, but didn't do as much damage as he wanted that to do. Now 2 Volksgrenadiers and the Sturmpioneers moving out, trying to take territory, although he put all 3 of his units, his squads, on this 1 victory point, which I don't recommend doing. What you should do is take this Volksgrenadier here and put it to the munitions point here, take this one here, and just spread them out. He could have had his Sturmpioneer here, and a Volksgrenadier here, and a Volksgrenadier here, or whatever particular order, and he could have been taking all of these at once. Instead, he's bringing all of his troops and just sort of blobbing them on one, which doesn't make you really capture that any much faster at all. So he just needs to start taking multiple at once. Now a big force of Russians here coming, some conscripts and some flamethrowers, but I think the OKW should be able to handle this. Indeed, they have to run away very quickly. Now over on the right side, it's pretty stagnant over on the right side, only owning this territory point here for the OKW, and the Russians owning the majority of the right side, or left side, and the right side for that matter as well. Should spread out his troops, just start now to spread out his troops, spreading out his Volksgrenadiers over here. Should take his Sturmpioneers and bring them over here as well. You get to be taking all 3 of these at once, which is something I try to stress every game, every replay that I see that somebody doing that. Just if you really want to be a better player, you really need to spread out your troops just a little bit, particularly in 1 versus 1. And take multiple spots at once. Molotovs landing right on that Volksgrenadier and burning them up, and also suppressing them with this at the same time. So they stayed in that fire a little bit longer than they wanted to. Sturmpioneers now moving up, and Sturmpioneers should run right up to this quad cannon and try and start attacking it, but not going to be enough. Going to have to retreat out of there immediately. And losing a Sturmpioneer, which is a big loss for OKW, as Sturmpioneers are very expensive, and very expensive to reinforce as well. Now a Panzer II out on the field. Panzer II should totally own this half-track here. We're going to start firing on it very soon. However, these conscripts do have anti-tank grenades. Could run up there, lob an anti-tank grenade at that, and damage its engine. Did a decent amount of damage and forced that half-track out of there, at the very least. And now a infantry support gun set up, and I agree with the infantry support gun. I love the infantry support gun. For a while, everybody was saying it was really bad, and I suppose it was for its cost. I think it used to cost, what was that, 420, which was very, very expensive, I admit. But the infantry support gun is so good. I can't stress how good it is. Look at its range. It's just amazing how far its range is. And when troops get hit by the infantry support gun, they get suppressed. Unlike mortars and things like that, where you don't really always get suppressed by a mortar and things like that. But with the infantry support gun, you just get suppressed as soon as you get hit by it, which can be really, really lethal if you're under fire by, say, these troops as well. Conscripts moving forward, and Uran towards this Panzer II. He's trying to back that Panzer II up as soon as possible here. They want to get a couple anti-tank grenades on that, and looks like he's going to at least throw one. Gets one off and damages the engine. So now that Panzer II is in a little bit of trouble. Now additional conscripts moving over. They may actually try to anti-tank grenade again on that Panzer II, but not going to be able to make it as the Panzer II is backing up. Lots going on here. Both grenadiers battling out with these conscripts and these flamethrowers, and the ZIS is also barraging at the same time. And I'm surprised the ZIS is actually barraging when it could have actually destroyed that Panzer II. So very surprising that was barraging instead of actually just using its flat trajectory at that Panzer II. Quad cannon back here also firing at these troops, sending them home. And now the Russians owning the right side once again, forcing the OKW back. And that start with all those conscripts really just took a toll on the OKW, as he really didn't prepare for it. He didn't understand that there was going to be so many conscripts out on the field, as you traditionally really don't see that, as it's sort of traditionally very easily counterable by lots of machine gun play. And he still only has one MG34 out on the field. A slight difference, I suppose, but out on the field. And he definitely needs more. I would agree if he were to get more MG34s out on the field to deal with this conscript blob that's just unbelievable and very effective this game. As you can see, just owns all the territory, just such an advantage. As you can see, with this advantage, 58 and 36 income to 14 and 8. So you can see it's just amazing the amount of income he has. Now bringing out a B4 203mm howitzer. This is something you almost never see in 1-versus-1 play. As you can see, it stretches across the entire map of this map. It can shoot anywhere he wants to shoot this, all the way back in his base. That is an amazing range. And so he's going to be in trouble as soon as this B4 gets up and running. And the B4 can actually be used as an anti-tank and can fire a flat trajectory at tanks as well, sort of like the PaK-43, although just slightly less effective. As the PaK-43 is pretty much the dominant anti-tank emplacement in the game, as it's just so good at pretty much two shots most tanks. Panzer II now coming in, going to try and dominate out these conscripts here, and indeed, Panzer II is so good at killing infantry and pushing out his troops. Should split up his troops a little bit, send some this way and send some this way, as he can take more ground that way. Has an MG34 over here, but needs another MG34 with these troops, as a bunch of troops are going to be coming up and attacking them soon. So if he had an MG with them, could be suppressing those troops. And not only does suppressing troops suppress and eventually pin troops, you got to realize that when your troops are suppressed, oh wow, the B4 firing its single shot at those troops, hitting multiple troops, so many dead troops, their bodies flung everywhere, unbelievable damage. And now reloading that, taking a long time to reload, about 50 seconds to reload that B4, huge damage, pretty much a game-breaking hit there for the OKW. But again, as I was saying, with the MGs, when you suppress troops, they fire slower as well. So if you bring an MG with this infantry, and you start suppressing infantry like this, not only do you suppress them to the ground, but they fire slower, so they're basically completely ineffective. So MGs very, very good against troop blobs and a mass infantry like this. At B4 already getting one veterancy, and he has that precision strike ability on it. It does cost 90 munitions to use that direct attack on enemy troops. Now he's setting up that B4 again. He's going to be firing this B4. Let's see where he fires at. I'd like to see him fire at this Panzer II. That's probably what he's going to hit, and it will decimate that Panzer II if it is a direct hit. And it is incoming now. And see where it hits. Takes out all those Stern Pioneers. So he's just losing troops over and over. That B4 is so amazing. Can't believe he's even using that. You rarely ever see that in 1-versus-1. KV1 also for this particular commander, the counterattack tactics. So he could bring out a KV1 very soon. Just needs 420 manpower, and he could bring that out. And he's just about to have that. He's 400 now. Volkgrenadiers set up and taking the territory point over here. Should start taking some territory over here, but just doesn't have the manpower to bring in any more troops because he's losing them so quickly to this B4 as it fires. And 15 more seconds until that B4 can fire once more. And we'll see what target it chooses. I'd like to see a KV1 come out, but decides to build something else instead, or reinforce troops. He's reinforcing troops, so he cannot buy that KV1 at the moment. Now some troops coming over to the right side here. Going to start taking some of this territory back. So I'm trying to turn the game around and going to take this victory point here. Should try and send some troops over here to take this victory point at the same time so that he can at least stall the game and turn it around in his favor. So far, the score 460 to 61. So losing very quickly to this blobby type play here. Although he's not really actually even blobbing them so much. He's got them spread out fairly well across the map. Third Pioneer is now moving in, trying to test these conscripts here. And if they can move in time, they can actually send these conscripts running. And this B4 is now set up. It's turning its axis again, and it's going to be firing again. He does have it set up and going to be firing very soon here. Now setting it up, and let's see where he fires at. Looks like maybe he's going to be firing towards the base. And hit right here. And I'm not exactly sure what he hit. Maybe it was a flak emplacement, I believe. So not too valuable for the OKW there, but still pretty fun to shoot it regardless. Two Panzer IIs over here battling out with this 50 cal. However, one of the Panzer IIs took a shot from that CIS and is badly damaged. Both its engine is out and its main gun is destroyed. I'm going to try and do circles around the CIS and take it out. However, there's some conscripts coming. They're going to launch anti-tank grenades at it, which will damage its engine. And he will now lose his Panzer II as it's too slow to really get away. And needs to just hit it one more time with that CIS, and he's not going to be able to get out in time. At best, he could have probably went up this hedgerow, which he would have maybe gotten away, but he could easily brought that CIS up this way and then aimed it up there. Panzer II desperately trying to get away here, and it's got very, very low HP, and all of its systems are pretty much destroyed here. Now the B4 looks like it fired again. I didn't actually see where it fired. I didn't see what it hit there. Conscripts moving forward to the victory point once more. I'm going to push this MG away. I'm going to have to retreat that before it gets hit by a Molotov or just destroyed from bullets. Volksgrenadier now moving in, but not going to be enough to force away all of these troops here. And the infantry support gun still firing away. Only 5 kills on this infantry support gun, so not the best infantry support gun, but still, I really enjoy the infantry support gun. As you can see how far away he has it, all the way in his base, and it's just able to lob over and over at these troops. A good place for it to be, like right about here, and it could hit the majority of the map, really. And now conscripts taking the territory point up top, and also this victory point. Now KV1 out on the field. A very heavily armored but very low damage tank, and moving towards the OKW base, but it's going to make it as JaPeSch loses the game to KackTheTripper to his mass infantry tactics and the awesome B4, which was a really delight to see in 1 vs 1. And so the synopsis overall of the game, I would like to say that the reason why JaPeSch lost is just all of these conscripts that were made in the beginning spread out so quickly across the map. Took so much so quickly that he had a gigantic resource advantage right off the bat, and he simply didn't make the units that could counter those conscripts. He needed multiple MGs. I would have liked to see a minimum of 3 MGs. Could have had a couple over here and 1 over here defending this area at the very least. But also, if he had 1 over here, he's going to need some troops with it. Maybe like 2 Volksgrenadiers and a couple MGs over here, and the majority of his forces on the right side, so he could defend his MG over here with a couple of Volksgrenadiers, which would always force away all those conscripts. And I think he would have done a lot better off. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this replay, and I will see you guys next time.